Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and for the first time ever, I just saw this come across. If you link to my sponsor, that's you can go to linqto.com or download their app. If you go to link to today and invest in Ripple private equity, if you buy $50,000 or more, you get 10% off of Ripple private equity. That's an interesting day. That's until I think midnight tonight. Lark Davis, today's the day. Fed expected to cut interest rates today. This was from tomorrow. Last time the Fed cut rates, Bitcoin went parabolic. If history repeats itself, this next 6 to 12 months are going to be insane. And then this is from Bloomberg.
Crypto, a look at the people, transactions, and technology shaping the world of decentralized finance. Live from Bloomberg's world headquarters in New York City, I'm Matt Miller. Bitcoin is ripping today. The move comes about 26 hours before the big Fed decision. The first U.S. rate cut in more than 4 years is expected to set the stage for riskier assets such as crypto. Former President Donald Trump unveiling his crypto platform, and his son's also promoting it. He leans into digital assets in search of donations and votes amid a tight election race. And we're going to talk about crypto's role in this election cycle with Coinbase's head of U.S. policy, Kara Calvert, her firm, one of the top spenders across all of the races. That's all ahead, but first let's take a closer look at where Bitcoin is trading. As I said, it's ripping today. It's surged, bringing it to the highest level that we've seen this month, pushing its year-to-date gains to around 40%. Right now, Bitcoin trading at more than $61,000. Meanwhile, MicroStrategy recently bought even more Bitcoin, this time another 18,000 coins in its biggest transaction in more than 3 years. The company led by Michael Saylor dropped some $1.1 billion on Bitcoin between August and this month, according to an SEC filing. It now holds about 245,000 Bitcoin, valued in total at about $14 billion. Now, when it comes...
Okay, and this will be the first time in 4 years they've cut rates. And the meeting's at 2:30 today. I'm going to call this the chart of charts. Look at this. eGrad Crypto has gone all in on his chart today. He must really be optimistic. XRP 5 colors, 5 scenarios. Choose your color. 5 XRP price scenarios. For illustration, I'm using 5 colors to break down where XRP could go based on historical pumps. Keeping in mind that this cycle bottom is 28 cents. Let's dive in. The white, 932% pump to $3. Yellow, 1,563% to 485. Red is 2,035% to 622. Blue, 2,536%. Rocket to 768. Green, 9,468%. Pump will send XRP to $27. Let's see what this chart looks like. Boy, that looks confusing. I'm all in on green. I want some green action. Give me green. All right. Ripple yesterday announced that Stuart Alderati was speaking alongside Robinhood, Grayscale, Bullish, WEF, and CNBC at, this is the, GU Soros Center for Financial. Anyway, there are multiple great clips in here. Let's start with this one.
And hopefully when this regulatory cloud is lifted and we get some policy clarity in the U.S., we will then be the most trusted source for enterprise support for crypto solutions in the U.S.
I mean, tokenization is...
And hopefully...
You're damn right. Here's another clip.
And hopefully when this regulatory...
Didn't mean to play that again. Let me make sure I'm in the right spot here. 14 seconds, 14 seconds. This one's the one I wanted to play right here from Vet.
Ripple has been branching out into custody, into stable coins, really trying to look to the future in terms of how you can be a one-stop shop for institutions. Walk me through that.
So our core product has always been cross-border payments, using blockchain and crypto to help traditional financial institutions move money faster and more cheaply and more transparently than they can. We realized that to be the one-stop shop, we need to also provide the custody solution and a stablecoin, which can be a proxy for any digital asset that you want to use on the blockchain to make that happen. So we're going all in on all three pillars. And part of it also will become the tokenization of real world assets. And I think eventually, and that is getting a lot of traction outside of the US and all of the jurisdictions.
All right. Then there's this. This is from Jungle Inc. And he put out this clip, which I thought was very interesting. And I'll go ahead and explain it before you watch it. Alderati's basically saying Ripple met with Kamala Harris, and that privately she says that she's going to do things. They just won't say it publicly. I agree with the last guy in this clip that speaks, and that is, no. This Senate, remember, Elizabeth Warren's behind Operation Choke Point 2.0. She endorsed Kamala Harris really quickly. That does not mean that Kamala's going to give her the bird on her Operation Choke Point 2.0 policy.
Ripple has always been a compliance-first company, and we've been around for 12 years. And we have always engaged with regulators and policymakers, and we're doing so again this election cycle. Both with the Republicans and the Democrats. We showed up at the RNC convention. We showed up at the DNC convention. We have met with the Trump campaign. We have met with the Harris campaign. Trump clearly, and the RNC clearly, has been very vocal. You look at their platform statement from their convention, 16 pages, one paragraph, clearly on crypto, saying we're going to stop the U.S. war on crypto and make the U.S. the crypto capital of the world. The Harris campaign has not been so public, but privately, they have said that they are interested in hitting the reset button. So I do think that policy comes first. The policymakers in this country have to remove the impetus for unelected bureaucrats who are running these regulatory agencies to create policy through enforcement. And whether or not we get that through a Republican administration, a Democratic administration, or some combination of both, what is clear is that crypto is here to stay, and crypto has become a credible voice in the political conversation, and we need to be listened to.
If Trump wins, crypto wins. If Harris wins, it's to your point, whatever they whispered to you, take it with a grain of salt. Remember that reset button in Moscow, too. Didn't really work so well. So I think one way or the other, it's going to come down to legislation. I do see a pathway to legislation, regardless of who wins the election. But it's sort of what happens between the election and the legislation. And legislation takes a long time.
If Vice President Harris wins, everything's going to change. But government and policy come down to people and incentives. And look, lover or hater, Senator Warren is amazingly effective. And she's most effective at controlling certain agencies. And the way she does that is controlling who goes in to run those agencies. So whether it be the CFTC or the SEC or the OCC or the FTC. And if you noticed, she came out real early and real hard for Kamala Harris for president. So this concept of, President Harris wins and everything changes, I'll tell you one thing that I don't think is going to change is Senator Warren gets to decide who runs the SEC. And Senator Warren isn't interested in being helpful to crypto. She isn't interested in defining what is a security, what isn't a security, what is DeFi, what isn't DeFi, what can be done, what can't be done, how do we bring innovation in this country. She hates all of it. So I don't see anything changing in a Democratic administration. Could even potentially get worse, although that's certainly not my hope, and I'm not fear-mongering. But I just don't see things getting better.
I agree. Now, this is interesting right here. This is Caroline Pham from the CFTC talking about a triple black swan event.
There are plenty of regulators around the world that supervise and monitor the activities of financial institutions, particularly global systemically important banks, for example, and FSOC has a great role in particular around that. But for the CFTC, uniquely speaking, even though we have a global jurisdiction that's probably only second maybe to the Department of Justice when we think about our enforcement authority over fraud, abuse, or manipulation in any markets where it can enter the stream of commerce. So that's the global commodity markets, for example. But we also directly oversee pretty much, I think, all of the GSIBs who are registered with us, both U.S. and non-U.S. as swap dealers, and also what's known as systemically important financial market utilities. That includes clearinghouses for the most part. So we have been, and we still are, the primary regulator of the largest clearinghouses in the world. And so we're a clearinghouse to fail. That would have a cascading effect that would be like a triple black swan event for the financial system. And that's why one of the key aspects of the Dodd-Frank regulatory reforms and the G20 derivatives regulatory reforms was to ensure the resiliency of clearinghouses and to ensure that there was robust oversight. That's primarily done through, there's so many acronyms, the Committee for Payment and Markets Infrastructure, together with the International Organization of Securities Commission, and that CPMI is in itself a subset of the Bank for International Settlements, but there's the principles for financial market infrastructures, and all jurisdictions that are part of the largest and most significant economies are required to implement that, and that ensures the safety of clearinghouses and other financial market infrastructure.
I'm having flashbacks to when is it Brianna Madigan? I can't remember how her first. Bree Madigan that used to be with Ripple, where she said XRP could help in a systemic event. Let me see. I think I'm going to skip this one and go to this one because this is big right here. Stuart Alderati just scorched the SEC in this clip. Watch this.
I don't think the SEC has established itself as the leading regulatory voice on crypto around the world. I travel the world, as I'm sure everyone else does. I meet with regulators in Singapore, in the UK, in the EU, in Brazil, in Dubai. The SEC is not mentioned. And in fact, I think that this administration has done tremendous harm to the credibility of the organization as it looked when Dan served as a commissioner. That's my mom is here. Good. But think about it. They're a self-appointed comp on the beat. The statute has not. No law has appointed them the comp on the beat. In our case, they've been called out by a judge for not faithfully applying the law. In your case, they've been called out by a judge for acting arbitrarily and capriciously. In the debt box case in Utah, they've been sanctioned by a court for outright visiting a fraud upon the court. The question is not why are they doing what they're doing, is why do they still have their jobs? And I think the rest of the world has moved on. They recognize the value of the technology, the jobs, the tax dollars, the innovation that it can bring to the economy. And they want to create a framework where the technology can prosper while we protect consumers, protect the integrity of the market, and keep bad actors out. That's what they're interested in doing. And they have moved so past the U.S. and so past the SEC. I worry that I don't know if we can ever catch up at this point.
Pretty pitiful. Now, Nancy Wotas told us a long time ago, but this was a tweet from Eleanor Terrett yesterday, or no, maybe it was today. Oh, what's today? Yeah, it was today. Powerful testimony for today's Financial Committee hearing with lots of ground to cover from a former SEC commissioner now serving at Robinhood, Dan Gallagher. He says, over talking about how they met with the SEC, over a dozen meetings and calls over a year and a half, which still resulted in Wells notice from the enforcement division. Gallagher says staff were generally non-responsive to Robinhood's requests for guidance and feedback on how to move its registration proposal forward. He criticized the agency for its scorched earth. I think Alderati did a scorched earth approach to regulating crypto, and even suggests some steps the commission could take right now in order to help establish clarity for the industry. But I would be remiss if I did not point out that all right. So the point is that the SEC told him to come in and talk, but we showed the world back during ETHgate. Nancy Wotas told us when we were uncovering ETHgate, they did the Bill Hinman speech, but they didn't even believe it because it was for the purpose of creating vagaries and getting Bitcoin and Ethereum a monopoly. And the people that held this industry, that was 3 or 4 or 5 years that the industry was held up over the greed of the people that were in that room that were trying to get a monopoly for Bitcoin and Ethereum. And they helped the SEC do this.
You have a fully functional network and you go ahead and you issue a token in that context, those early tokens will always be security tokens. And again, notwithstanding what the speech said. And we're going, well, tokens are mutable, they can change. And that's what Bill Hinman said. And it's like, well, we don't really believe that. So,
so they didn't even believe the Bill Hinman speech, that they all at the SEC, remember all the emails? There was like 63 emails that went around to craft the speech. The speech that they lied in court and said was his personal opinion for a year. And Ripple had to spend millions of dollars to disprove the lie. Remember that? Well, guess what? The good news is XRP Unleashed is coming out in November. So all those involved will be shown to the world. Speaking of Ethereum and ETHgate, look at this moron. For those of you that are big ETH investors, I'm not.
And its properties are from...
The theme of this song is stay in your effing lane. Just because you can create a digital asset and you're smart in that does not mean you need to go out and become a singer.
And its properties are from better than all the rest of them. It's mathematical. No more double spend, it's cryptical.
It doesn't get more cringe than this.
No brain or it's variable. A new form of wealth begins. And
all right,
properties.
Folks, in DAI XRP.com today, I'm going to ask you a question. Are there government moles in the United States? Are there government moles in the you-know-who's campaign? We're going to talk about that. And I'm going to show you the videos that are coming out, the connections that are coming out between the person that did the first you-know-what and the second you-know-what that we can't talk about out here. You're not going to believe what I'm about to show you. And it's not one thing, it's several. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button. Tell your friends and family. Away we go.